out between 8 and 9.
He's been down in PwC.
Right.
I think he took our accountancy conversation to heart last night and is looking for a proper career.
He wanted to see how the other half live.
A real job.
Yeah.
While he was down there, he's been talking to Joe Canning, Andy Moran, still footballer of the year, we should point out, from Mayo.
God.
Liam Rush and Michael Quinlivan. So pretty stellar lineup. That is coming up after 8 o'clock. And we have a stellar lineup in studio as well. Richie McCormick, how are you?
How are you, Nathan? Thanks, you're very kind.
And she's the longest name in showbiz. Máire Treasa is here. How are you?
I thought you were going to say that's why it's going to be a great show because I was here. Not
That's what I was building up to. That's what I was building up to. You stole my thunder. How are you?
Good, I'm great.
Welcome to the evenings.
Thank you.
You're a regular visitor in the mornings. I was watching you the other morning. You were doing your awards for the season.
My MTs.
It's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game, isn't it?
It
so
is.
you gave an award to Semple Stadium. What was that for?
For their retro press box food fair. Lovely sandwiches.
Yes.
But the main thing about it is Swiss rolls in lines.
Please.
So they're chopped up in perfect vertical lines, and you have the spongy ones and the chocolatey ones with a little bit of jam in the middle.
Oh, the only
Divine.
place I ever see them is in the press box in Semple Stadium.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could buy them.
I don't know where they get them. Maybe they make them. I don't know,
Are
but
they
I love
homemade?
them. I doubt it. They do. Is it Gatto that makes them?
Gatto makes them, yeah.
I remember my granny's house years ago.
You can get a Marks and Spencer Swiss roll, but I don't think they'd be...
Oh.
They don't
I don't know if
we'd have been reared.
I don't know now if they've the Marks and Spencer's
I was literally
Swiss
just
roll
going to
down at
say
Semple.
they
But
won't
I
be
would
going for
say
this.
for Máire Treasa next year they will. You see, I'm
Possibly.
thinking
Or a locked
that's
door
why it's
when they
risky
know
business.
I'm eating all the
so when you
Swiss
go to
roll.
Semple next year, and maybe you thought this out in advance and realised you go to Semple for all the big hurling games more than any other ground, you're going to be VIP. But what do you think the people in Porky Queeve are going to be thinking when they see you coming?
In fairness,
Here's your one.
all I'm
Thinks
going
our
to say
food
is
crap.
just with the schedule that we had this summer, because the championship was so condensed, I actually didn't make it to Porky Queeve this summer.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go back next year. You'll find the door slammed in your face at Pearse Stadium or McHale Park.
Or
They- they-
silver
Where they
service.
tried their
Nathan,
best with
no,
a few
no,
little
no.
sandwiches.
Nathan, you're not thinking this through. This is now an opportunity for other stadiums and other grounds
To up their game.
To up their game and kind of maybe test their wares on us before they launch it for the championship next year.
And try to surpass the Swiss roll.
Exactly.
Bit of hot food.
Bit of goujons.
Oh.
Myself and Tommy, we do enjoy the goujons.
I was at Porky Queeve this year and they had hot food in the press box, goujons and cocktail sausages.
I haven't eaten
See.
yet today, lads.
And
Need to stop.
chips.
Come on.
Chips is risky though in the press box because like chips, they have a 5-minute window and then they're just gone.
They're fresh.
Then they're just gone.
Bit of curry sauce.
No, they didn't stretch to that. So, good show coming up. 53106 is the text number. We're live on all our social channels as well. The news round brought to you, as always, with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. You're going to be out and about this Sunday as well.
Yeah, I'm
Crow
going
Park.
to be at the ladies' football finals.
50,000.
Apparently so, yeah.
Wow.
And probably even more by the time Sunday rolls around, hopefully.
The Dublin bump, I think they call it.
It's definitely part of it. And also, to be fair, the Cork fans, they do travel and they've been travelling for years for their women's sports as well. So I think it's a big part of it.
Because I sort of felt this week that it was more low-key than last year because there was so much talk 12 months ago because it was a Mayo-Dublin final in both, that it was easy to continue the build-up from the men's game into the women's game. But like 50,000, up 3,000 or 4,000 on last year, again, it's a pretty remarkable figure.
Yeah, I think all the finals this year have suffered from that kind of, I don't want to use the word fatigue, but because they came so rapidly toward the end of the summer compared to normally in September, the first Sunday, the third Sunday, the camogie and the ladies' football in between them, we didn't have that space to dissect things in the run-up to it. So I think I had that feeling with all the finals, I think, not just the ladies' football final. And
I'd say the Cork players and management are loving the build-up to this.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's all about the Blue Sisters and this Dublin side and transforming ladies' football in this country. And they're like, I think you'll find we won 6 in a row before ye somehow stumbled over the line against Mayo last year. I think you'll find we're the greatest team of all time.
I'm not sure the Dubs would agree with that. I'm not sure lots of the impartial people watching it would agree with that. I think this Dublin team is very different to that Dublin team who was beaten regularly by Cork. I think the Cork team are nearly back to where they were, but they're not there yet.
Right.
Of course, I could be proven totally wrong come Sunday, but that is my...
So would you have Dublin as quite
would.
strong favourites?
I would. Yeah, just based on what I've seen this summer, based on the fact that while the Cork team are percolating nicely, they're not back to that stage yet when they had all those stars. Now they're creating new stars. I mean, jeepers, look at Orla Finn, Saoirse Noonan, like this super sub that Cork have. I saw her come in against Westmeath there nearly 2 months ago now. She's only, I think, 17, 18. She'd just done her leaving cert. And doesn't matter where she is, what game she comes in on, she's always scoring goals. And the speed for her, she plays for Cork City as well. She's just an athlete. She's amazing. They have a few of them coming through in Cork, but Dublin are like 2 or 3 years down the road ahead of them, if you know what I mean.
Do they not still have the core of the team that like won an All-Ireland 2 years ago?
They do and they don't. It's just that I think the core of that, the team that won that All-Ireland, I always compare them maybe to the Kilkenny team that won the hurling in 2015. Like, while they still had a few of the core left, it was nearly an All-Ireland they stole. That they really, perhaps, they had players who probably were in their last legs, that kind of thing, and the newer ones coming in still weren't there yet. So really, for example, Galway should have beaten Kilkenny that day in 2015. They didn't. I think the same possibly could have been said for Cork. They mightn't like me for saying that, but I think Cork now today are in a much better position than they were 2 years ago. Right. But I think that Dublin are just...
Even though they won the game 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Through sheer experience. And
absolutely,
just know-how.
yeah. I just think though that they've a new set now and they're good and they've a great bond and they've a great hunger, because that was a thing when I saw them, they were beating Westmeath. There was no holding back. They kept going and going. They hammered the hammer and they kept going, and that showed there was a huge competition for places and stuff, which is only great for Cork.
Yeah. We spoke in our Saturday panel last week ahead of the Camogie final about the summer of sport and women's sport, and how a lot of the major stories, and I think it was a source of frustration to some of the Cork players who'd done interviews ahead of it, that it was only when something terrible happened and there was a scandal that we would talk about ladies sport. And it's sort of the same again today, even though we're 3 days away from the All-Ireland final. Carnac is back on the back pages again, and the shambles that has been Mayo ladies football over the course of the summer. Peter Leahy has spoken. There's quotes from him in the Irish Examiner today, and giving his side of the story. We had Cora Staunton on last week and talking about where the problems came from and how they felt that it wasn't a particularly good situation for the Carnac players to be in the Mayo camp. Peter Leahy suggests that it was simply a case of selection, that after they were beaten by Galway in the Connacht final, that he decided he wanted to make some changes, and players weren't happy with that. He said, we'd only 9 players from the All-Ireland last year playing, and that was a problem for a lot of them, in my opinion. It's not a problem, it's whoever is best goes out on the pitch on the day. All my selectors, including the selector who left, have agreed on every team selection, and he feels that basically that's the root cause. It was about selection. It was, all my feelings are hurt. It was a feeling situation. Well,
feelings can be strong. That's what I would say at the start of that. That is true. That is also his version of events. There's lots of other versions of events that we haven't heard yet, but I do think the sad thing in all of this is that it's taken so long for these bits to come out. It has left an indelible mark on Mayo football, and that's I think the saddest thing of all. This team this time last year were in an All-Ireland final. They're nowhere near that this year, and you'd wonder how long will it take for them to recover to come back in. At the same time, if he felt wronged, he was absolutely
and
right to come out and defend himself.
On to Peter Leahy, he said he's said his piece now. He feels like he has.
I think it's a shame that they haven't all. People say you shouldn't be airing your dirty linen in public, but I think this is more than dirty linen. This is the future of Mayo football, a county that has been such a stalwart of women's sport and ladies football in general, that I just think it's such a shame that this has been allowed to fester and rumble on underneath. And like you said, take away from headlines of great sporting achievements that we just haven't heard of, because stuff like this keeps coming out, instead of just dealing with it.
Yeah, like this has dragged on for 3 months, and there's really been no need for it to drag on for 3 months. There was talk of confidentiality agreements, and obviously when it's a player welfare issue, there are certain protocols and procedures you need to go through. But it did just leave it hanging in the air. Absolutely. Whereas Peter Leahy didn't want to get involved, he says, but come out and say this, give your side, and let's just bring it to a head, sort it out. And if Mayo football moves on without Cora Staunton and the Carnac players for the foreseeable future, so be it, if that's the decision that everybody has made. But then there's the separate situation, this farcical situation of it somehow falling into the club game and the Mayo County Board trying to throw Carnac out of the championship because their players are refusing to play for the county.
Yeah, I mean
that still hasn't been totally resolved.
That's a tangent that should never have happened. Whatever about the club and the county, keep them separate for this issue, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier in the week, this is a voluntary sport. You choose to play voluntarily. Nobody can force you to play. And I think, conversely, if you showed up and lined out for your own club, you shouldn't be told you can't play either. That's a non-issue. Put that to one side. I think the bigger issue, though, is the fact that this has been allowed to percolate, that they've had this weird omerta that nobody knows what's going on. I think Cliona Foley was in here a few weeks ago, I think on the NEWSROUND. I think she was on with Joe, and she was saying that, if this was a male sport, there have been journalists sent down to Mayo, people would have known exactly what had happened. We've all heard rumours. Unfortunately, you can't report on rumours, you can't substantiate them. A player welfare issue is a huge thing. It absolutely should be discussed. Sometimes, in any situation in life, I may feel you've wronged me, you may not have, but if I feel it, I'm feeling it, and that needs to be addressed. And vice versa. the same time, if somebody's name, if they feel they're being blackened, that also needs to be addressed. But it all comes from this omerta, and this is Ireland. What comes from this rumour?
Yeah, it was a feeling situation, almost like covers a whole range of things, like what we've had with the Ireland squad this week. And John Walters came back, Harry Arter didn't. People take things differently. You can say the same thing to 100 different people and everyone will have a different reaction. Unfortunately, I guess that's management. You need to somehow contain that and bring it all together.
Leadership and management and some psychology thrown in as well. I think, I do think perhaps, I saw the interview he did and he was going through, we have strength and conditioning, we have nutrition, all these great things. I do think perhaps this situation where an external mediator should have been brought in. People who are trained and qualified to do this, because sometimes there are real grievances, and sometimes a good, honest, safe conversation where somebody can feel that they can say these things and there's going to be no repercussions is the way to deal with it. Now, maybe that's too simplistic, but I don't know if I'm being simplistic.
That's the part of this that in many ways didn't make sense. So clashes and issues will always arise in high pressure environments, which being a male ladies footballer I'd imagine is, because there's a hope and an expectation that you can win in All Ireland and you're trying to drive each other on and there's rows and people will have a pop at each other and all that. But when it explodes like this, that's when there's a pressure on the Ladies Gaelic Football Association to step in and go, actually, this reflects terribly on us as an association.
I think they were asked about it during the week.
I think
they were asked about it during the week and they're saying that they wanted to go through all the official channels before they could actually step in, and but they clearly was asking for some kind of mediation and some...
That can take too long.
But it needed a sensible head, and it needed somebody detached from the scenario to actually get involved and try and bang heads together.
Yeah, it's going to run a little bit further, I dare say, over the coming weeks. Get your text in 53106. Competition time as well. All this week we have teamed up with Virgin Media Sports, the new home of European football in Ireland. Their coverage kicks off on the 18th of September. And to celebrate, every night this week we're giving away a €50 one-for-all voucher. And you'll also go into the draw to win a trip for two to Old Trafford on Tuesday, October 23rd to watch Manchester United against Juventus. And we'll also throw in €400 spending money. To be able a chance of winning, just identify our Champions League mystery voice, who was feeling brave recently when we offered him a bite of our limited edition white Snickers bar.
Let me give it a go and see if I enjoy it.
Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce a winner later in the show. And bear in mind, you must be able to travel from Dublin on the morning of Tuesday, October 23rd and return on Wednesday, the 24th. It's all with thanks to Virgin Media Sport, exclusive to all Virgin Media TV customers, now with more than 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Nations League games live this season. You can also download their TV Anywhere app and stream all the action whenever and wherever you like. Richie, where are we starting?
We'll start with Matters All-Star, and Joe Canning could become the first ever player to win back-to-back PwC GAA GPA Hurler of the Year awards. He was shortlisted today alongside his Galway teammate Pádraig Mannion and All-Ireland winner with Limerick Cian Lynch. Speaking at our PwC All-Star preview show today, Canning says he doesn't put too much store in individual awards.
I suppose the big thing in my family was Ollie had 4 until I got 4 last year, so it was always kind of a joke between ourselves, kind of he had something up on me for a while, but yeah, no, just like as the guy's saying, it's more for the family more so than anything. Like mom has them at home, and dust collectors as she calls them, stuff like that. So, but other than that, they don't really. I'd say it'll be in years to come when you kind of look back in your career and stuff, and you think about it that time. But when you're in the moment of playing and stuff like that, you don't really appreciate them as much as you probably should.
Each member of the Limerick side that started last month's All-Ireland final win over Galway have been nominated for a PwC All-Star. It's only the second time since 1996 that an All-Ireland winning side picked up a clean sweep of nominations. Beaten finalists Galway received 9, Cork gets 7 nominees, Clare and Kilkenny each have 5, and they're 1 apiece for Dublin and Tipperary. The Young Player of the Year shortlist is comprised of Cork duo Mark Coleman and Dara Fitzgibbon and Limerick forward Kyle Hayes. The winners will be revealed at Dublin's Convention Centre on November the 2nd.
So you covered most of these big hurling games throughout the summer. Any major surprises, like all 15 Limerick players?
That doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is that Shane Dowling wasn't on the list. I would have, certainly he was...
They should have been 16.
Yeah, well, perhaps, even though my little Galwegian heart mightn't agree with that. But, like, he was an impact sub, really. Was that Jim Gavin causing finishers and that kind of thing? Like, I mean, Shane Dowling, every game he came in, he made a massive impact. That really surprised me. I mean, I know it's such a hard job to do, But I would have found a space for him in there somewhere. I possibly would have also had Clare's Jack Brown on that. I mean, he got an amazing point, I think, while I was eating a Swiss roll.
Well, funny you mentioned the Swiss roll. Ronan has been in touch to say we have Swiss rolls at Tuam Stadium press box as well as other traditional delicacies.
Ronan, I'll be down straight after I come up here.
You don't get too many big inter-county games at Tuam Stadium these days.
No, but you get great club games there.
Oh, well then. It's worth making the trip, is it?
Always. I love Tuam Stadium.
I'm surprised actually with the AllStar nominations that there's not more of a variety because we had so many more games this year. So traditionally, say in football, even with the Super 8s, I think Roscommon were the only ones not to end up with a nominee. But it's always focused on the latter side of the championship. But we had so many great games in the Munster and Leinster championship that more stock wasn't put in those. It still seems to be the real focus is on All-Ireland semi-finals, All-Ireland final.
I'm assuming maybe that's because the semi-finals were just such amazing games. And I know we had great games, especially in the Munster Championship, but our memories are short. We're fickle people. When you think back to the Championship.
Particularly.
And ultimately, semi-finals and finals are the proving ground for those kind of players anyway. So more weight should be put on the semi-finals and finals.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree that there would be more weight, but that there's no player from Wexford, there's nobody there from Waterford, that Clare, for some of the brilliant hurling that they played, get just 2 nominations.
I feel Clare have been shortchanged and hard done by in this actually, because they played 2 semi-finals and they were wonderful in both.
How have Clare only got 2 nominations?
5.
They're 5, isn't it?
2 is written here in front of me. That's fine.
Clare
then.
and Kilkenny got 5
Scrap
each.
that, edit all that out.
But Kilkenny, when you think about it, they were beaten by the eventual winners, and I think they only lost by 2, was it? When they got beaten by Limerick that day.
Okay, so
you could argue, were Kilkenny shortchanged? I don't think anybody's going to feel too sorry for Kilkenny, unfortunately.
yeah,
because
is the hurler of the year going to be one of these split between Joe Canning and Cathal Mannion, so Keane Lynch is going to win?
And I think, geez, Keane Lynch, what a wonderful hurler, but I actually feel that Joe Canning possibly on his play probably deserves it more this year than last year.
Well, listen, that is your biased Galway heart coming forward. You didn't hear me on air last night saying it was an outrage that Mayo didn't get any nominations. Even though, you know. Does league form count for nothing?
No.
Derry City councillors have voted in favour of renaming the Brandywell after the late Ryan McBride. The 27-year-old Candy Stripes captain died suddenly in March of last year. The council received over 6,500 valid responses in a public consultation process, and 71% of the vote was in favour of the name change. Joey Carberry will make his first start for Munster in tomorrow night's visit of the Ospreys to Irish Independent Park in the Pro 14. Head coach Johan van Graan has made a whopping 11 changes to the side that disappointed last week away to Glasgow. There's a first start of the season for captain Peter O'Mahony, with the returning Chris Cluta joining him in the back row. Andrew Conway and Tyg Byrne are also named in the starting 15. Van Graan's been outlining what they can expect from tomorrow night's visitors.
Yeah, well, the injuries, we've also got quite a few injuries, so hopefully it goes well for them. They've been playing very good over the last 2 weeks. Very much improved set piece, very physical defence. They're reefing in the tackle, and they've got quite a few doubles in there. And they punished the Cheetahs for turnovers, and I thought the discipline was quite good. They kicked the Cheetahs there into that corner, and they mauled pretty well. So it'll be a big challenge on Friday evening.
A text in from Danny in Naas. Nathan, do the delicacies at Premier League grounds match up to the GAA?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go now.
I can't
Prawn
answer. I get so much abuse
on.
about this. I don't understand why.
Go on, tell us, Moose. What did they have?
No, I'm not having that, pal. I'm not having that. Just because the odd time we may comment on the 5-course meal they give you at Stamford Bridge.
You don't. It's not the odd
Only the
time.
5.
It's every time. Every time.
They have.
They're in the Emirates.
They have a vegetarian section. They have a good salad section. The dessert tray is just off the scale. They have little packs of sweets that you can bring up to the commentary box. It's quite frankly distracting.
God love you. Life's so hard, isn't it?
Vegetarian, like just taking the ham out of the ham and cheese, or?
Oh no! This is like it's exceptional. The Emirates isn't far behind. I did make the terrible mistake of making a joke online, which is obviously never
make a joke online.
I think it was some stage last season. Must have been just after the transfer window. It was a terrible joke, in fairness, where I said they had one of their 8 desserts at the Emirates out, and I said if they spent less money on their desserts and more in the transfer market, they might have more success. I think 2,000 responses from angry Arsenal fans later.
You're kidding me. Arsenal fans? Angry?
Yeah.
That's so unusual.
I know.
What was the dessert selection though? I want to know. Was there any Swiss rolls?
Oh, don't worry, I have a few photos I'll send you. There's no Swiss rolls at the Emirates, I can tell you.
They're missing out.
80% of Nathan's camera roll on his phone is not pictures of his kids. It's just desserts at Premier League grounds.
Desserts from the Premier League.
Look what they had at the Emirates.
Molyneux on Sunday now for Wolfsburg. What do you think Molyneux will be like?
Sticky toffee pudding.
With everybody talking like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, I'll be sure to take a picture, Richie, and send it to you.
Please
we'll be
do.
talking on Sunday afternoon.
We will. Kieran Marmion's return at scrum half, one of 4 changes made to the Connacht side for tomorrow night's meeting with Edinburgh. Fellow internationals Ultan Dillane and Ní Adéochán could also make the starting 15 with Sligo prop Conan O'Donnell in the front row too. Bundy Aki could also make a first appearance of the season. He's named on the bench for that game at Murrayfield.
Feels like Ní Adéochán is the forgotten man of Irish rugby.
Yeah, and he's such a superstar. It's great to watch. The speed. That's what I enjoy watching. You know, when he gets the ball, you know something's going to happen. And sometimes, God love him, sometimes it just doesn't work out the way he plans for whatever reason. But I think a lot of the time it's literally he's got so much pace that the rest kind of can't keep up with him sometimes. It's just the speed.
We're now well stocked at the wing. You know, when you consider the season that Jacob Stockdale had, not necessarily out of nowhere, but I don't think anybody envisaged him being the talisman in the Six Nations last year.
Did Adéochán just suffer with the change in coach, that he was very much suited to a Pat Lam style of rugby, and maybe Kieran Keane and him wouldn't been seeing eye to eye?
Could well done. I think there were injury factors at play last year too.
I think so, yeah. And just sometimes it just doesn't ignite for whatever reason, but hopefully under Andy Friend now things will change again.
We touched on Hugo Lloris last night and how there was a 50 grand fine and banned from driving for a while, but no great punishment aside from that, and it seems like it's going to stay that way.
Yeah, Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino confirming that Lloris will retain the club's captaincy. The goalkeeper, as you mentioned, this week banned from the road for 20 months and fined £50,000 after admitting a charge of drink driving. Lloris will, however, miss Saturday's visit of Liverpool to Wembley with a thigh injury. Dele Alli will also miss that game after returning injured from England duty. And Pochettino has defended keeping a contrite Lloris as captain.
He regret about everything, and all that happened yesterday is not good, and of course that he not feel great. He said that he was guilty of this situation and is responsible. He's a man, but I think the most important is everyone can make a mistake. He made a mistake and is suffering all the punishment. That is a massive lesson for everyone. For him, it's the first that he told me, they said, Gaffa, it's a massive lesson for me. I made a mistake, and now I need to pay. Like a man that he is going to pay and accept everything.
There's the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, and what football clubs do.
Usually the wrong.
Yeah. That's just
take the captaincy off and the rest is it. Like the captaincy, it doesn't matter.
Set an example.
Yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter, but it looks like they're actually doing something by taking the captaincy off. Give him a massive fine; he can afford it, and then move on.
Did you write the script for the hurling nominations?
I did.
You've had a mayor, Richie.
I had a mayor.
You've had a mayor. Somebody else tweeting in going, Wexford got 2 nominations.
My humblest Swiss roll.
So scrap all that. Did Limerick actually get 15?
Limerick got 15. Wexford got 2. Dublin and Tipperary got 1. Now these are scribbles I wrote after a long day at college. I could be very wrong.
Well, you're still nearer the truth than Richie is, who literally has had nothing else to do all day except get these right. God damn it. All right, tomorrow night is going to be far better. We've got an extra special show coming up with the Longines Irish Champions Weekend. We're going to be live from Leopardstown, and this is a stellar lineup. Horse racing fan and horse owner Joe Schmidt is going to be there. Racing legend Johnny Murtagh, Dublin's John Small, and they're going to be alongside Johnny Ward, Ger Gilroy and John Duggan. To win yourself a pair of tickets, tell us how many Six Nations title has Joe Schmidt won. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents, and good luck with that. For more details on the Longines Irish Champions Weekend, get on to goracing.ie. I think that is us done. John Giles is up next. More Treasa, thanks for coming in. Enjoy the game on Sunday. We will chat to you then. And Richie, must do better.
Give me some Swiss roll, I'll try.
Must do better.
I'll bring me some Swiss roll back from Sunday.
John Giles up next.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Coming up this week, we'll go behind the scenes at Ubisoft Games to hear what goes into making a video game. We'll give you the lowdown on all the devices Apple launched earlier this week, and of course answer your tech questions.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Thanks to Harvey Norman.
Download the podcast on Friday from noon or tune in Sunday at 6.
On News Talk.
Once the morning was chaos. Find something to wear, grab my phone and dash out the door. Breakfast! I knew I forgot something. But now, I've got it sorted the night before with Flahaven's new overnight oats. A delicious blend of oats, fruit and seeds. Just add milk or apple juice, put in the fridge overnight. Next morning, I've got a wholesome, refreshing breakfast. From circus to serenity, That's the magic of new overnight oats from Flavins. Transform your mornings overnight.
A business needs to be creative to stay ahead of the game. And creative brains need space to think. Give them space. Think better. But let's do it with a little style. Castleknock means business. Discover more at castleknockhotel.com.
Don't wait.